Hello, everybody. It is Ashwin. How's it going? Hope you guys are all well. I am bringing you, hopefully we'll get that in focus. And there it is right there, folks. A beautiful pair of boots with incredible detailing. So we're going to talk a little bit about this bootmaker today and a little bit in general about where this bootmaker operates and the quality of boots coming from this particular country. This, my folks, is the Onderhoud LCV1 lace to toe boot. That's Onderhoud, which is the bootmaker name or the company name for a bootmaker named Rizky Afnan. So Rizky operates out of Indonesia and is possibly one of the most talented bootmakers in the whole world. Why would I say that? Well, part of it is the opinion of a number of friends who turned me on to boots. And as many of you guys might know, or some of you might not know, I largely entered the high-end footwear game from dress shoes, kind of high-end classic men's shoes. And I got increasingly attracted to workwear and rugged workwear, and particularly boots, because I recognized some of the same effort that was put into bootmaking as has been put into high-end shoemaking. And so Rizky Afnan is known as one of the world's best bootmakers for the fit and finish of the boots that he assembles out of Bandung, Indonesia. And so this LCV1 lace-to-toe boot was made in collaboration with Stitchdown. Now, Stitchdown is a website and a resource run by a gentleman by the name of Ben Robinson, and who's helped out by another guy named Patrick Gessler, who are two of the most well-known boot aficionados in the country. They have a really awesome Stitchdown podcast, so if you get a chance, check that out. But they talk a lot about some of these amazing bootmakers, independent bootmakers coming out of different parts of the world. Many of these boots are inspired by heritage men's boots coming from the US and the Pacific Northwest, but have their own individual spins. I think most people will recognize that bootmaking really kind of ascended to a new level through companies such as Viberg, and then a number of the Japanese bootmakers such as John Lofgren, Shogoto, Motor, some of the companies like that. But in recent years, the bootmakers in Indonesia, including Rizky, as well as a few others like Ray from Renav Goods, Prof. Barnett's Monroe Heritage, Santalum, Sagara Bootmaker. There's a number of other ones, Tahura Boot Company, all have gradually begun emerging and have been raising their game by importing higher quality leathers and designing shoes that stand up against any boots made around the world in terms of fit, finish, quality. So let me show you some of these details here. So this is a Wickett and Craig harness leather. This leather was sought out by Rizky, at least that's how the story goes, because of its capacity to develop a patina. So patina in the boot world is a little different than patina in the shoe world, which when we think of patina, we think of sort of clever finishing of the shoes using different colors and shading to kind of bring character. Well, boot patina is often acquired by regular and rugged wear, where the boot develops scuffs and sort of imperfections that are often seen as telling the story of that boot. Part of this is the heritage that the boots come from in terms of workwear and kind of being beat up over time, and then ultimately getting to the point where the sole kind of wears out and needs to be resoled. Well, this Wickett and Craig leather, as you can see, I've really only worn it once, is already starting to develop some of those marks, which are kind of sought after in the bootmaking world for boots to develop character. But what makes these boots particularly special? Well, there's a few details here. Look at the detail of the stitching. Each of these stitches is kind of put down in two layers. This is a stitch down construction where the leather is folded out onto the sole and stitched down, and done so in two rails, but the precision that's made in this sort of 270-degree stitch down pattern is rather impressive. The stitch density is rather high for this particular style. You can see the stitch density and the precision of the upper in this triple layer stitching that goes on over here, and similar triple layer, multi-layer stitching in the upper. as well as some of the other features, the brass eyelets, the precision that kind of goes through into the heel cap and the counter here. As you know, everything that's done in this boot is done to a very, very high level of fit and finish. And the choice of leather, it really fits the boot as well. So I'm going to bring in the other boots so that you guys can see a pair of the boots together. And I'll talk a little bit more about this boot and then introduce one other pair here. So here is the two boots next to each other. You can see that right there. These are lace to toe, 6-inch high boots. They're built, as I mentioned, using Stitchdown upon a Dr. Sole rockcord half sole with a natural edge welt, Cuban, slightly tapered heel. You can see this rockcord sole is in an off-white color. There's a super grip that is known for the Dr. Sole brand. This is a half sole because there's a leather piece that separates the front and back elements of the rubber sole. This is very rugged. These Dr. Soles, if you haven't tried them out, are really, really worth it. I've already put this through a couple wears, so there's a little bit of wear there already. But you can see that this is really just a beautiful leather that's going to age well and be exactly what I want it to be, which is a shoe that I can take into most climates, wear with pride, know that what's being on my foot is one of the most precisely manufactured and assembled boots in the world, and that Rizky Afnan is known amongst one of the best bootmakers out there. So I wanted to share that boot, as well as the other pair that I have from Onderhoud, which is a pair of shoes. This was sort of my entry drug into the boot world, were these derby style shoes or Blutcher style shoes, depending on what you want to call them. There's different ways to produce them or pronounce them. But this is also an Onderhoud derby shoe. You can see that it is also made using that stitch down design, using that sort of 180-degree stitch down double row stitching with the upper folded and stitched down to the raw cord half sole. In this case, it's a black raw cord half sole, the super grip half sole. You can see the very precise stitching and beautiful design here. Beautiful last that fits me well. It's kind of an almond shaped last. There's the Onderhoud logo. You can kind of see it there, but I don't think we're really getting focus on it. And this is made using an Indonesian rough-out leather. Now, I was able to come in on these shoes a little bit cheaper, maybe around $270 to $320 in that range, depending on your choice of fit and finish. But this is made using a rough out, which is the outside, sort of the inverse of how leathers are usually put together. This is the inside put to the outside. It's almost like a suede, but a lot more rugged, or a chamois leather, but just much more of a grain and a nap to the leather that is called Rough-out. And this is a Red-Brown Rough-out Indonesian leather that allowed me to test out Onderhoud and kind of get a sense for his quality of boots. The boots typically take 3 to 5 months to get produced, maybe even a little longer because Onderhoud is so busy. Here's my other pair right here. You can see that fit and finish here. More of a block heel in this instance. The Rockcord Super Grip. There you go. The 5 eyelet design, the contrast upper. So this is the actual non-rough outside Indonesian leather. You can see it on the tongue here. Just a beautiful design. And so keep in mind that Onderhoud and Rizky does all of his business via Instagram. So you can go to Onderhoud Handmade, that's ONDERHOUD Handmade on Instagram and message him there. It'll take some time to get through to him. In many instances, he's so busy that he has a tough time responding, but he's really a one-man business. He has 2 or 3 apprentices at any time that he is helping teach the bootmaking skill, but he's running his business, he's taking his photos, post on Instagram. He's doing all the business aspects as well as the bootmaking aspects. So you can imagine that that can get overwhelming when the demand for your shoes gets rather high because the quality of your production is incredible. And as I mentioned, such a beautiful pair of shoes as well as the boots that I have. I'll likely stick with these 2 pairs and wear them pretty hard until I decide I want another pair. The Wickett and Craig LCV1 lace-to-toe boots are substantially more expensive because of the import fees and tariffs levied upon the leather that was brought in to make that boot. And that boot costs in the neighborhood of $700, so not cheap at all, as you might imagine, a quality of boot at this level made by an individual bootmaker in a 5 to 6 month time frame. I was able to get on this boot because Stitchdown was able to run this collaboration and actually Rizky ended up with some extra leather from which he could manufacture one more pair of boots. And I jumped on that last pair of boots and messaged Ben, and he was able to secure that for me. So those are my 2 pairs of underhoods. I'm thrilled to have 2 pairs from one of the best bootmakers in the world. And as I mentioned, these boots are really a privilege to wear. They engender tremendous pride of ownership. You feel proud wearing these. A lot of people will ask about this Stitchdown construction. Some people also, there's a very similar construction called Veldschuhen construction that is very similar in its manufacture and styling, but has a slightly different way of being assembled. It's just a very classic construction of putting the upper and sewing the upper onto the sole, which allows for more of a waterproof construction and great for hair, for workwear. So this is a boot you can wear in most conditions. And similarly, the LCB ones will age incredibly well and go well with denim, go well with a pair of chinos if you really want to pull it off that way. Can be worn indoors or outdoors and really kind of finish up with a nice patina. This will look very different from what it looks like right now. So again, Onderhoud Handmade, Rizky Afnan, great bootmaker, and consider others such as Renav Goods, Prof Barnett's, Monroe Heritage, Tahura Boot Company. It goes on and on and on. Santalum, Sagara Bootmaker, so many amazing bootmakers, all who have their own vibes, most of them who are communicating through Instagram. So if you don't have an Instagram account, you should go and check out their work, message them, and they will work with you, get your sizes, get you measured, you get yourself measured up. You can do that at home with their instructions. Send them your measurements. They'll give you an idea of what options they have for upper leather options. They'll give you what options they have for soles. You can really put together your own concept with their recommendations as to what would work and make a boot that's uniquely yours that stands out amongst the crowd. So sorry for the text messaging that's going on. But all in all, I wanted to hope to put together an informative video for you. You guys have a great evening and take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.